Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit that subscribe button if you're new so you don't miss any of our great football content this season. All right, Josh Pate joining us. He cuts through like nobody else with college football. Obviously host of Josh Pate's College Football Show, which is fantastic. So I got into this discussion the other day. I'm known as a USC homer. So, and I lean into it because I think it's obnoxious and funny, but whatever. We all have our team or our region or whatever. And I was talking to a friend the other day who's a UCLA Bruin, and I said, I don't think UCLA is a good job. I think it's one of those where it sounds like it should be good. You're like, oh, there's a lot of money in Bel Air, but it's an international university. NIL punishes college football programs. You can be a top 10 college basketball program with about $4 million a year in college basketball. If you're not at 16 to 18, which is where USC's at now, I mean, there's a reason USC's defensive front looks better. They bought a lot of it. So my take with UCLA is they are bottom half of the Big Ten in NIL. Because it's in Bel Air, Josh, you can't really, and it's a public university, your coaches have to drive 45 minutes or an hour to work. I don't think it's a good job. I do not think it's a good job. I wouldn't, if I was an agent, I would not send my best clients there. I don't think it has a huge brand. I mean, you tell me, you live in Nashville. I spent 8-9 years in Los Angeles. I don't think it's a top 30 college football job.
I would go further. I don't think it's top 45. Like you're talking about multiple G5 jobs that are better than UCLA. And when we say that, by the way, I know people who don't live in this world and who don't immerse themselves in it. They almost think you have an axe to grind, like you just talked about. Oh, that's USC homerism. Well, dude, I grew up in Harris County, Georgia, so I got no dog in this fight. I'm just telling you what I perceive, but I could be wrong. So then you ask around and you ask, forget agents. Yeah, of course agents are echoing that to me. Colin, I just go to coaches. When I see a coach's name in the running for these jobs, I'll just go to the coach and I'll ask him and they'll usually shoot straight with you. And I just think probably even I've been a little taken back by how many people who in a previous lifetime we would look at the job they're at and you would think, oh, it's a slam dunk. Yeah, if he can get the UCLA job, he's going to take it. That in the modern day, look at it and say, dude, there's no way. And we're not just talking about head coaches. Like I'm telling you, there are coordinators out there. There are pretty high-level coordinators out there that would not leave where they are right now for the UCLA job. And you mentioned it's bottom half of the Big Ten. Well, that's in a vacuum. So yes, it's bottom half of Big Ten in vacuum. But then, like you said, when you factor in, hey, if you take the Indiana job, I mean, you could do like Signity and blow it up. But even if it's not what Signity has made it, you're going to live in Bloomington, Indiana. Very affordable. So you're asking me to go take a bottom half job. You're going asking me to be distant second in my own town. You're asking me to be second on my own campus when it comes to the athletic department. You're asking me to take over a place where the NIL infrastructure is really discombobulated. They're not fractionally as put together in football as they are for basketball there. And you're asking me, by the way, to compete with superpower programs like Oregon and Ohio State and Penn State and Michigan. There's just, I don't have much good to say about it. I wish I was wrong. I wish you were wrong. We're not.
Yeah, I mean, and the football stadium's 45 minutes off campus. I think there was a time when you could get away. There was a time when it was Terry Donahue and then Dick Vermeil, and it would get on ABC, and it was part of the Pac-12, and there was something to be said about you're playing in the Rose Bowl, and the weather was cold everywhere else, and now you're like, oh, it's warm in UCLA. Like I could see a quarterback or wide receivers, and they do put guys in the NFL. But I think there was a moment when Chip Kelly said, I'd rather go be a coordinator in a Big Ten school than the coach of UCLA. And to me, it's like, oh, that's the tipping point. Because Chip knows, Chip's coached at Oregon. He's coached at the NFL. He's like, no, yeah, and I know Chip. Chip was at my 60th birthday party. Chip likes LA. Chip and his wife love LA. It's not that. He's not an outsider. So, it's funny. I said years ago, I felt this. I don't feel it anymore. I said years ago, I thought the Texas job, I said, take away the top three quarterbacks in the NFL. Whoever has those and they're in their prime, those are the best football jobs in America.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore, those are the best jobs. You have an NFL pension, your coaches don't leave, you don't have to recruit players. But I always said fourth is Texas. And and I as we talk about what kind of job it is, I always think like Texas is the best college job, Ohio State, Georgia, then we can argue. Like Notre Dame, there's an academic umbrella. It's kind of, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's small, it's private, bad weather. I mean, my wife wouldn't be overjoyed to move to South Bend, Indiana, like all things considered. If I said to you, top five jobs, I want you to consider pressure, pay, conference, geographic location. Remember, Oregon, is an outsider. If you don't have a lot of players in your state, you generally don't have a good program. Phil Knight changes that. California changes it. If I said to you, top five programs, all things considered, where are you?
You're going to think I'm joking with you, but Kentucky football would be the job that I would want to take. Mark Stoops makes close to $10 million a year. The goal there is to win 7 games. It's in rural Kentucky. You can be there forever. He's got a massive buyout. And unlike a lot of these other guys, he is the only place where you blend SEC pay scale without SEC pressure. I can't believe people don't look at Mark Stoops and say, that guy figured it out. Now, if you do want to compete for a national championship, the answer is the University of Georgia. Georgia has long been that. And I remember when Saban was at Alabama and everyone would look at Saban and is he going to go to Texas? But I remember someone saying, no, forget Saban to Texas. Like, yeah, if he were to take that job, it would suck for Alabama, but he'd do probably the same thing at Texas. I don't think you could dominate much more than Saban did at Alabama. But what people kept saying was, you need to be paying attention to what happens with Georgia. This was like the Mark Richt Georgia era.
Yeah.
Georgia for a long time, I grew up there. For a long time, Georgia, like good was the enemy of great. And they were just good. It was pretty good. It was kind of good. Yeah. And there was this like nether region. They were never bad enough for a firing to happen. They were never good enough to win a title. And the rest of the SEC was so happy with Georgia being like that. And finally, it got to a tipping point. I really think Saban and to an extent Urban Meyer turned the heat up in the SEC enough to where Georgia made a move. And then Georgia went and got Nick Saban's guy and Kirby Smart. And the day they hired Smart, there's no guarantees in this world, but I thought to myself, if that is the guy that can replicate Saban's model or come roughly close to it, if you take those ingredients and you throw them in Athens, Georgia, I just thought it was a powder keg, the likes of which in a generation prior to me being born, they used to talk about Florida. You read the books, you listen to the interviews, you read the Paul Bear Bryant quotes when he was at Bama of hoping no one ever figures out Florida. Because if anyone ever figured out the University of Florida, then they'd be a monster to deal with. So Kentucky, if I don't want to win a title, Georgia, if I do want to win a title, would be my two answers.